My childhood was generally good. I was a loved and protected child. My family was always behind me. But there was one person who held a special place for me above the rest: my uncle. Ever since I was little, I had seen him as a second father. He was a strict but fair man. He was respected by those around him. He had built his own business in a small city in the United States, and everyone knew him. He was a role model for me. I wanted to be strong, controlled, and successful like him. Everything was normal until adolescence. Then my body changed. My face filled with acne, I gained weight, and when I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. In high school, I walked through the hallways with my head down, trying not to make eye contact with anyone. My friends slowly drifted away. My room became my refuge. My computer was my only escape. I spent hours playing online games and browsing forums. In real life, I was someone I did not want to be, but online, I could become whoever I wanted. One evening, I got into an argument with someone because of a thread I had opened on a gaming forum. The things they wrote were harsh, but intelligent. We exchanged long messages. When the thread was locked, I thought it was over. A few days later, I received a private message. It was the same person. At first, I did not reply. Then they sent mocking messages. Eventually, their tone changed. Even when you argue with people, you try not to hurt them, they wrote. That is not very common. Strangely enough, you seem sincere. Those sincere remarks made me uncomfortable. I clarified that I was male. The reply came quickly. I am a woman too. I use a male username here. Otherwise, they do not leave me alone, she said. She told me her name was Susan. Over time, our conversations changed. We moved from games to life. We started talking about everyday problems, loneliness, and disappointments. Months later, we spoke on video for the first time. On the screen was a simple, calm woman around my age. There was no flirting, no romantic approach, just conversation, but for the first time in a long while. Someone was truly listening to me. And without me realizing it, those conversations began to change the direction of my life. As my conversations with Susan continued, certain things in my life slowly began to change. She never gave me direct advice or told me what I should do. But after our conversations, I started questioning myself. I began living more regularly. I cut back on fast food, started going on walks, and eventually joined a gym. When I looked in the mirror, I could see the difference, but the real change was inside me. After graduating from university, I started looking for a job. The field one had studied in the United States was not considered particularly impressive. I was turned away from the doors of large companies one by one. Just as my hope was beginning to fade, my uncle stepped in. He arranged a position for me at his own company. Working alongside him was both an opportunity and a great responsibility for me. My uncle was a disciplined man. He never showed favoritism in business. He did not do so for me either. On my first day, he told me very clearly, "You will stay here not because you are my nephew, but because you work." I liked hearing that. I worked hard. I arrived at the office early in the morning, and stayed even after everyone else had left in the evening. The work culture in the United States was strict, but I was determined to adapt. I learned the job quickly. My uncle noticed this, though he did not show it much. Since the family home was far from the workplace, I stayed at my uncle's house. And at that house, there was someone else. My uncle's wife. At first, there was almost no interaction between us. She was distant. She mostly focused on the house and her own affairs. But over time, she started coming to the office more often. At first, she asked small questions about files and appointments. Then she began asking for my opinions. I accepted this as normal. After all, we were family. When I told Susan about it, her tone changed. "Be careful with this woman," she said. "I do not know why, but I do not feel comfortable about her." I laughed. "You are exaggerating," I said. "She is my uncle's wife, after all." As time passed, my responsibilities at work increased. My uncle began to trust me more. My salary went up. I started living closer to work. In the United States, long distances mean serious time loss. My uncle supported me. He helped me buy an old but functional car. My life seemed to be falling into place. One day, my uncle's wife came into my office. She closed the door. "We need to go to Florida," she said. "There is an important connection there. Your uncle is very busy, so it makes more sense for me to go with you." I was surprised. I tried to object, but she did not listen. She gave me the date and left. I told Susan about it. She warned me again. Once again, I did not listen. "This is a business trip," I said. "In America, this is very normal." We went to Florida. We booked separate hotel rooms. In the evening, we had business meetings, and everything went smoothly. When we returned to the hotel, it was still early. As we were heading toward the elevator, she stopped me. "Since we came all this way, let's go out for a bit. This place is beautiful at this time of year," she said. I told her I was tired. She insisted. She said she would go alone if I did not come. Worried that something might happen to her, and feeling responsible to keep an eye on her, I agreed. Bars, neon lights, loud music. Normally, I did not drink much alcohol. That night, I drank too much. She, on the other hand, seemed completely unaffected. I do not remember anything after a certain point in the night. I woke up when the sun hit my eyes. I was in the hotel room. Beside me was my uncle's wife. We were both naked. It felt like my heart was about to stop. I could not remember what had happened. I ran to the bathroom. I felt nauseous. When I looked at myself in the mirror, my face was completely pale. There was only one question in my head. How did this happen? When I came out of the shower, she was extremely calm. "You drank too much," she said. "It's normal that you don't remember." The fear inside me grew even stronger. I spoke clearly. I apologized. I told her she was my uncle's wife and that this could never happen again. I even said there was someone else in my heart, just to make her stay away from me. She smiled. "Your mind will change with time," she said. We returned from Florida. I kept going to work, but something inside me had broken. I struggled to look my uncle in the face. I couldn't sleep at night, constantly thinking about that night. And without realizing it, my life had entered a dark path. After returning from Florida, nothing was the same. I was working in the same office, sitting at the same desk, but there was a constant pressure inside me. When I spoke to my uncle, I avoided eye contact and couldn't fully hear what he was saying. He still trusted me, talked about future plans, and considered giving me more responsibility at the company. That trust placed an even heavier burden on my shoulders. My uncle's wife, however, had changed completely. She didn't approach me openly, but her looks were enough. In those looks, there was a reminder, a threat, and at the same time, a call. Every time she passed by me in the office, a strange uneasiness rose inside me. I wanted to run away, but I didn't know where to go. When I talked to Susan, I felt a little relief. I couldn't tell her everything, but I told her I felt suffocated at work. "You need to get away from there," she said. "That environment isn't good for you." One evening after work, I sat in a cafe with a few friends. It was an ordinary place by the highway, open late into the night, like many places in America. I tried to join the conversation, but my mind was elsewhere. I left and got into my car. My family's house was outside the city, at the end of a long, dark road. While driving, I called Susan. I opened up a little more and told her details. I had never mentioned before. "Leave as soon as you find a new job," she said. "Don't stay there." At that moment, the call dropped. There was no signal. As I muttered to myself, the car suddenly jolted and the engine stalled. No matter what I did, it wouldn't start. The ignition turned, but the car didn't respond. I got out of the car. The night was silent. There was only the distant sound of wind. I decided to open the hood. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The moment I lifted the hood, my blood ran cold. A snake came out of the engine. It coiled and lunged toward me. I jumped back instinctively. My heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. Even in America, at that hour, on that road, seeing something like that made no sense. As I was trying to decide what to do, I heard cracking sounds coming from the trees along the side of the road. I turned my flashlight in that direction. An old man was approaching. His clothes were filthy, as if he had not washed for days. His clothes were torn and worn. "What happened, son?" "Did your car break down?" he asked. I told him what had happened. I explained how the car suddenly stopped and how I encountered the snake when I opened the hood. He did not look surprised at all. "Do not get close," he said. "It will bite." Then, without any hesitation, he walked straight toward the hood. With his bare hand, he grabbed the snake. In a single motion, he tore its head off. I was frozen in place. Then he brought the severed head to his mouth and began chewing it. "This will not harm you," he said, "but harm can come from me." As he said this, he suddenly charged toward me as if to attack. Terrified, I ran to the car and locked the door. The man leaned toward me through the window. "I need to kill you," he said. He started punching the window. At that moment, I looked at his face. This was not the same man from before. He was bald. His ears were pointed. His teeth were uneven. He did not look human. "What are you?" I shouted. "What do you want from me?" With a demonic smile, he stepped back and disappeared right before my eyes. There was a brief silence. I blinked. The old man from before was standing there again, as if nothing had happened. I was staring at him from inside the car. "Try starting it," he said. "It will work." Trembling, I turned the ignition. The car started on the first try. The hood was still open. He asked for help to close it. After shutting the hood, he turned to me. "Can you drop me off a little further down?" he asked. "Near the settlement by the cemetery." I hesitated, but I agreed. We did not speak a single word during the drive. I stopped near the cemetery. As he got out, he shook my hand. The palm of my hand burned as if thorns had pierced it. When he let go, I saw a hand covered in calluses and wounds. When I got home, my hand was red. I washed it and disinfected it. I felt nauseous. I went to bed, but I could not sleep. That face would not leave my mind. After a while, I finally fell asleep. Then I experienced another shock. When I opened my eyes, I was not in my bed. I was on a hard surface. I stood up and felt pain all over my body. I looked up at the sky. The moon was there. My phone was turned off. A distant car light appeared. When I raised my hand to stop it and get to a safe place, I saw the old man in the driver's seat. He did not stop. A little further ahead, I saw my own car standing there. The hood was open. When I reached the front of the hood, I saw the headless snake lying on the ground. In that moment, I understood. What I had experienced was not a dream. Thinking that something was wrong with me, I started the car and drove to the hospital. I showed them my hand and said I might have been poisoned. The doctor said there was nothing wrong. There were no marks, no swelling. He said it could be psychological, caused by exhaustion and lack of sleep. I went home. I got into bed. I fell asleep wishing that I would wake up in my own room in the morning. But now I knew. This path was leading me to a darker place. After that night, the unease inside me did not fade. It deepened. Time began to flow strangely while I was at the office. Sometimes I would be looking at an email, and when I lifted my eyes from the screen, I would realize that hours had passed. I could not remember what I had done or how I had worked during that time. These gaps frightened me, but I could not tell anyone. My uncle was the same as always. He trusted me, talked about the future of the company, and increased my responsibilities. That trust created a heavy sense of guilt inside me. I could not look him in the eyes when we spoke, and I kept my sentences short. Sometimes he asked if something was wrong. I said I was tired. What else could I say? My uncle's wife, on the other hand, began to act more boldly. She no longer hid her looks. When she passed by me in the office, she stood unnecessarily close and lowered her voice when she spoke. A voice inside me whispered thoughts about her. Those thoughts did not feel like they belonged to me, but I could not silence them at night. When I looked in the mirror, I felt like a stranger to myself. It was as if there was someone else inside me. At times, I could not remember words I had said, and I denied things I had done. This state was slowly taking control of me. One day, I learned that my uncle was going abroad. He was going to leave the United States for a few weeks for a major deal. Before leaving, he hugged me and said everything was in my hands. In that moment, something broke inside me. His trust left me completely defenseless. After my uncle left, everything accelerated. My uncle's wife began openly directing her attention toward me. One day, she came into my office and closed the door. My heart started racing. The voice inside me told me to stay silent and not to think. My logic had weakened. I locked the door. "I want you," I said. The moment those words left my mouth, I froze. They did not belong to me, but I could not take them back. My uncle's wife reacted harshly at first, then calmed down. "This is not the right place," she said. "We will talk outside." That evening, we met. We were in the car. The first touch, and then that moment again, as I kissed her, I opened my eyes. Her face was gone. Her skin was distorted. Her mouth had become a dark void. Her teeth were uneven. Her eyes were not human. It was the same entity I had seen on the road that night. I screamed and pulled away, throwing myself out of the car. I collapsed onto my knees. A voice echoed inside my head. "It will pass. It always passes." A moment later, everything returned to normal. I was in the car. My uncle's wife was in front of me. She looked worried. I made up an excuse, saying I felt dizzy and unwell, but there was no escape anymore. That day, we were together in the car. We began meeting in secret. She told me to rent a small house in the city center. She said it would be more comfortable that way. I agreed. But when I was with her, the strange things intensified. Sometimes she would stop mid-sentence, acting as if she were hiding something, then continue as if nothing had happened. When I watched her face closely, I noticed that her expressions sometimes did not settle correctly. The time gaps became more frequent. At one moment, I would close my eyes where I was, and when I opened them, I would be somewhere else. I truly believed my mental state was collapsing. Thoughts that did not belong to me circulated in my head. They guided me and made decisions for me. One night, she called me crying. When she came over, she was devastated. She said she had argued with my uncle, that she had been insulted, and that she was tired of being controlled. Anger rose inside me. I clenched my teeth. Then she said that sentence, "I need to get rid of him." When I understood what she meant, my chest tightened. But the voice inside me did not stop me. She explained her plan: a summer house far from the city, in a mountainous area. No cameras, isolated. She would leave the door open at night. I would enter, finish it, and leave. Everything would be unsolved. Normally, I should have jumped up and walked away, but I did not. "I will do it," I said. "For you." As I said those words, the voice inside me went silent. In its place, a cold and empty stillness settled. We agreed on Saturday night, 2 o'clock. the mountain road, and that night I set out. When I started driving on Saturday night, it was close to 1 o'clock. The air was cool. The road leading into the mountains was narrow, winding, and deserted. Beyond the reach of the headlights, there was nothing but darkness. A knife lay on the passenger seat. My eyes kept drifting toward it. There were two voices inside me. One whispered, telling me I would do this. The other was weak but stubborn, telling me to stop. When the day came, I made my preparations. I obtained an unregistered weapon from a supplier. I was determined. When the time came, I completed my final preparations and set out. The road was quiet and foggy. It felt as if the night was darker and heavier than usual. My eyes were on the road, but inside me everything felt numb. I saw someone walking along the roadside. He had a backpack. At first, I thought about driving past. Then I hit the brakes. I stopped a few meters ahead and reversed. I rolled down the window. "Where are you going?" I asked. He was young. His face was clean. He said he was going to the village and had missed the last bus. I told him it was my first time on that road and that I could drop him off if he gave directions. He thanked me and got into the car. He said his name was Noah and that he was studying environmental sciences at university. We talked along the way. The conversation moved to life, then to death. He spoke about how heavy a burden it is to take an innocent life. As he talked, the pressure in my chest seemed to loosen. Suddenly, I stopped. I looked at the steering wheel. I had forgotten where I was going. The mountain house. 2 o'clock. My uncle. It felt like a hard punch to my stomach. At that moment, the car stalled on the incline. No matter what I did, it would not start. I became angry. Lucas remained calm. "There is good in this too," he said. We got out of the car. We opened the hood, but nothing worked. Lucas took a drink and a small sandwich out of his bag. "You look exhausted," he said. I hesitated at first. He ate before me. Then I ate as well. He handed me the drink and said it was fruit juice made from fruit from their farm. As I drank it, the tightness in my chest eased. For the first time in days, the buzzing in my head went silent. Lucas turned to me and said he could say a short prayer if I wanted. I allowed it. The words he spoke made me tremble. Goosebumps rose on my skin. The foreign voice inside me was gone. In its place was a clear silence. I looked at my watch. It was already past 2. The mountain house no longer mattered. I tried the car again. It started on the first try. I dropped Lucas off at the entrance to the village. As he got out, he looked at me. "If you had continued on your way," he said, "your life would have been completely destroyed." I could not ask how he knew. He smiled and walked into the darkness. I went home. It was nearly dawn. I took a shower and tried to calm myself. For the first time in a long while, I felt peaceful. But one question remained in my mind. How had I come to this point? In the morning, my phone rang. It was a family member. Their voice was trembling. "Have you heard?" They said. "Heard what?" "At the mountain house, your uncle has been murdered." My phone nearly slipped from my hand. It turned out that before I arrived, My uncle's wife had killed her husband with her own hands. In her statements, she spoke of uncontrollable thoughts and of something guiding her. The brutality at the scene horrified everyone. She was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. My name was never mentioned in her testimony. The police took my statement. I told them everything. I was released. I quit my job. I left the city. For a while, I stayed with Susan and her family. I began a new life. The days were calm, the nights were quiet. When I told Susan everything, she remained silent for a long time. Then she said only this: "I think something was done to you, but it did not hold on to you, because someone stopped you at the last moment." When I told her about Lucas, she nodded. "Maybe," she said, "that is why he crossed your path." Today, I live a quiet life. I do not wake up in fear at night. But I know this very well. Not every whisper is your own voice. Not every thought belongs to you. And sometimes, a stranger changes a person's fate. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.